Have you ever felt guilty because you couldn't feel love from the person who was supposed to love you the most, your own mother? It's a deep, hidden pain that's hard to talk about, as it contradicts the core belief society always instills in us, that mothers love their children unconditionally. But what happens when this love is absent? Psychologist Carl Jung calls this the primal wound, a profound injury etched deep into your soul, driving you to constantly seek validation and affection from the outside world. Jung once said, "The abandoned child grows into an adult, forever seeking to be seen. Without your mother's love, you unknowingly construct a wounded self-image. You no longer live your authentic life. Instead, you play the role of someone always striving to be worthy of love. This wound creates an emotional void you desperately try to fill with attention, affection from friends, romantic partners, and even strangers. You constantly try to prove your worth, but the harder you try, the further you drift away from your true self. This isn't about blaming or resenting your mother. It's about clearly recognizing the pain you carry. You can't change what happened, but you absolutely have the power to choose healing. Name your wound, step out of victimhood, leave the shadows of your past, and live a freer, more fulfilling life. Not every wound inflicted by a mother is visible like a scar on your skin. Many people grow up in peaceful homes. No violence, no yelling, but still carry profound emotional wounds inside. Psychologist Carl Jung called these invisible wounds. They don't come from outright neglect or harshness, but rather from a very subtle type of love. Conditional love expressed through gentle control and hidden expectations behind sweet words. This kind of love doesn't nurture your soul. Instead, it suffocates your natural growth. Jung identified two types of maternal wounds. The first is active and obvious, like abandonment, humiliation, or violence. The second is far more dangerous and harder to detect. It's the quiet love that always comes with strings attached. You're loved only when you're obedient, successful, or meet your mother's expectations. With this conditional love, you grow up without truly understanding yourself. You constantly look outward, checking if you're good enough. Those gentle words become invisible surveillance, slowly taking over your thoughts. Jung warned that when the image of the mother becomes controlling in your subconscious, it transforms into a harsh, critical voice within yourself. To truly heal these emotional wounds, you must recognize and expose their true nature. No matter how loving or sweet they might seem on the surface. Carl Jung once stated that every adult relationship we have is essentially an unconscious replica of our earliest experiences. If you grew up with a mother whose expressions of love were unpredictable, warm one moment, cold the next, you're likely to develop an anxious attachment style. You love others the way an addict depends on a substance, desperately craving closeness, yet deeply afraid of abandonment. This internal contradiction keeps you wary of genuine intimacy, even though you constantly chase after it in vain. You might even enter relationships trying to control your partner, because deep inside, you've never truly known what real safety feels like. As an adult, love is no longer a conscious choice for you. It becomes an instinctive reflex. You're unconsciously drawn to people who carry a familiar energy, mirroring the way you were loved or not loved in the past. That's why even if you clearly see a relationship might hurt you, you still find it strangely familiar and hard to resist. It's the reason you keep getting trapped in harmful relationships, constantly blaming yourself for not knowing how to choose the right partner. But in reality, your choice isn't conscious at all. Your childhood wounds are making decisions on your behalf. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." If you never face the anxious attachment rooted in your relationship with your mother, you will forever love like a child who has never been loved properly. Carl Jung called this phenomenon the mother complex, an internal image of the mother silently living in your subconscious. It's not the actual flesh and blood mother, but rather memories internalized into a constant inner voice. Sometimes it's a gentle whisper that constantly questions. You're not good enough yet, or seemingly sweet words with hidden conditions. I'll be proud of you if you meet my expectations. Whether kind or harsh, these voices deeply influence and constrain your life. The mother complex isn't merely a collection of pleasant or painful childhood memories. According to Jung, it's a powerful psychological structure, a subconscious copy of your mother that you hold within yourself. It simultaneously protects and manipulates, guiding your actions unconsciously. You might choose a career path just to please your mother, fall in love with someone who embodies her traits, or worse, spend your entire life seeking her approval, even long after she's gone from this world. To genuinely set yourself free, you can't simply forget the past. Jung emphasized that you must courageously journey into your shadows, confront the internalized image of your mother, speak with her, understand her clearly, and ultimately, rise above her influence. This isn't a journey about expressing gratitude or assigning blame. It's a brave path of self-discovery, unraveling each unconscious thread that binds you so you can step fully into the light and live authentically. It's the path to liberation, freeing yourself from that invisible voice forever. Carl Jung once said, "Don't try to change others. Instead, transform yourself so you're no longer controlled by them." According to Jungian psychology, the ultimate goal of therapy isn't to force your mother to change or apologize for past wounds. Rather, it's about transforming the internalized image of your mother that exists within your subconscious. Your real mother, the flesh and blood person, might never change, but the internal mother figure silently shaping your emotions, decisions, and inner conversations every day can absolutely be reshaped and restructured. You don't need your mother's apology to move forward. What you truly need is a strong enough sense of self that allows you to detach from the invisible control exerted by your internalized mother. This strength can't be found in quick advice or popular self-help books. It emerges only when you bravely engage in an honest dialogue with the shadow within. The internalized mother figure you've carried since childhood. Jung firmly believed that the deepest transformations always occur within ourselves. Real change comes from courageously touching old wounds, not to wallow in resentment, but to recognize clearly. My past once controlled me, but today I choose to take charge of my life. This journey isn't about forcing yourself to forgive. It's about declaring your freedom. It's the strongest possible statement of liberation. Choosing that old wounds no longer dominate your life and inner freedom. When your mother only loved you when you were good and met her expectations, you learned to hide your true self and started wearing a mask. Carl Jung called this social mask the persona, the image you perform in front of others to gain acceptance and love. But behind this persona lies another entity. The shadow, the genuine feelings and parts of yourself you've repressed, hidden, and refused to acknowledge out of fear of rejection. Every time you suppress your true feelings, pretend to be strong when you're broken inside, or swallow your anger, you hand more control over to your shadow. That darkness is a product of all the years you were taught. Things like, emotions are weakness, boys don't cry, or you must be obedient and behave well if you want love. Jung clearly warned that the shadow never goes away if you simply avoid or pretend it doesn't exist. It merely hides, waiting patiently until you're tired and vulnerable enough to erupt forcefully, manifesting through depression, addiction, or unconscious self-destructive behaviors. The only way to free yourself from the shadow's grip is to acknowledge and accept it. You must directly face all the genuine feelings you've been forbidden and have repressed since childhood. Understand that these emotions aren't wrong or weak. They're simply part of who you are, a part you once rejected. When you courageously embrace and integrate this shadow, you'll no longer be controlled by it. You'll regain the power to lead your own life authentically. You cannot truly heal by merely understanding the problem intellectually. Awareness is just the beginning, but it's not enough. You need to embark on the journey of directly confronting your pain, what Carl Jung called entering into the darkness within. Jung recommended several powerful therapeutic methods, such as writing a letter to your mother that you'll never actually send. In this letter, you're allowed to freely express every genuine emotion, including the darkest ones: anger, resentment, and blame that you've kept hidden for so long. Another approach Jung advocated is the empty chair technique. Imagine your mother sitting right in front of you and speak aloud everything you've never dared to say. Don't hold back or censor yourself. Allow your emotions to be fully expressed. But perhaps Jung's most powerful and transformative method is something he called active imagination. Through active imagination, Jung invites you to engage in direct dialogue with your deepest inner wounds, as if they were actual people. This could be the wounded child from your past, or your shadow, the emotions you've denied throughout your life. The aim of this dialogue isn't just superficial comfort, but rather a deep understanding of why this part of you still hurts and desperately seeks acknowledgement. True healing doesn't necessarily feel comforting right away. It isn't a gentle or relaxing process. Rather, it's a courageous and difficult journey into the darkest room of your soul, the place where you felt most abandoned and wounded. Only when you are strong enough to stay present and fully confront that darkness can the true light of healing begin to emerge. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." The pain caused by your mother doesn't need to be erased. It needs to be retold, not as a tragedy, but as the beginning of your authentic self. When you transform your pain into a story, it no longer controls you. When you dare to speak openly about not having been loved, you no longer rely on others' love to feel worthy. You're breaking free from emotional scripts handed down through generations. Real healing is the reconciliation between light and darkness. No one is completely an angel or a demon. Your mother might have hurt you, but she was also shaped by unhealed wounds passed down from the previous generation. Today, you have the power to stop the cycle. You don't have to forgive, but you can choose freedom.